Good enough. Welcome back, folks. We are now in the Entangled Publishing portion of the program. My name is Shakir Rashaan. I am novelist of 12 and counting as far as the number of books that I have at this particular point in time. I corrupt minds one book at a time. I am here with my new housemate, well, actually housemates, but I'll introduce them later in the program. First off, we will be starting with uh, New York Times bestselling author Tracy Wolff, most recently of the Crave series, which let's put it in blunt terms. That particular series has tripped the night fantastic, girl. I mean, good gracious. I haven't seen anything this particular that swept this well and this widespread in quite some time. So kudos to you, definitely. I want to be like you when I grow up. That's for sure.
Well, thank you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
so welcome to the Cavalcade. We are glad to have you. You can tell, you can give the folks a little bit that don't know you yet, who you are, and we'll go from there.
Okay. You want me to do that? That's my
Absolutely.
job? Awesome.
I will
Okay,
let you do.
I am. Thank you. I am Tracy Wolff, and I write for Entangled. I've written for a number of different houses. The Crave series is my newest series. It is a vampire series that also has witches and werewolves and dragons and all kinds of things that go bump in the night. It is my Crave, which was the first book in the series, was my 65th novel. So
Yep.
I've been doing this a while and loving it. And yes, I see yeah, very thrilled and excited and humbled by the response to the series. I'm very excited about it.
Absolutely. So what we'll do is what we normally do is to give folks an idea. We kind of start from the beginning. I know your background was not originally in publishing. I know you were a teacher at one time, if I recall
I was a
correctly.
college English professor, yes, and a high school
Right,
English teacher.
exactly. So start from the beginning with regard to your writing career, and then we can kind of fast forward as things go.
Oh, I think I always wanted to be a writer, from the time I was very small. I always say from the time that I knew that words made sentences and sentences made stories that I could tell to enthrall people. I've always wanted to do it. But when I was in high school, my parents were very clear that they did not want to support me when I was 40. And, writing is one of those careers that sometimes it's a little harder than others to support yourself. And so it was always very clear to me that I needed to have a backup plan as well. And so I did start down I went to graduate school and taught high school while I was going to graduate school. Got married, had a baby, so my writing career kind of got put on hold for a little bit of time.
Mhm.
And sometime around, I guess it was about 2005, which is a long time ago now that I think about it, huh? We're 16 years
Yeah,
ago.
that part.
We had moved to Texas, and I had a premature son at the time. The doctor had said that if I could stay home for a year and keep him out of daycare and really give him time for his lungs to heal, he'd be a lot better off. And I decided, well, I was going to do that. And then I was going to do the one thing that I'd been dreaming about since I was, like 6 years old. And that was write a book. And I wrote my first two books actually in the year that I was home with my middle son, and the rest has kind of been a whirlwind. I taught for many years while I was continuing to publish, and then somewhere around 2015, I've been really lucky that I was allowed to I can write full time now and support myself.
Absolutely.
So my mom's fears did not come true.
Absolutely understood. I know everything is literally still surrounding the whirlwind that is Crave and such. But take me through the process, or take us through the process, forgive me, of how that even came into its own existence as far as that series was concerned.
Well, that was actually it was kind of a fortuitous break, actually. The house that I'd been with Entangled for a series a while ago, and one of
Mhm.
the editors at Entangled had actually been the one to buy my first YA series. I'm sorry, I'm having terrible allergies all of a sudden. I
No
don't know what
worries.
happened, but I'm like, Austin, man, Austin. And
Yeah.
so anyway, so I had been with them for a while, and then the current house that I was writing with had decided they were going to get out of the romance game for a while. I was writing for Random House.
Right.
And so suddenly I had an opening in my schedule that I had not anticipated, as one of those things that writers that happens to us more often than we like sometimes, where
Right.
we can't control the market, we can only control the books that we write, right?
Yep.
And so anyway, at that time I had contacted the editor who had bought my first YA books, my agent had, and said, hey, do you want to want to work with Tracy again? And she was like, sure, absolutely. And we had actually sold a book that has not ever been written now, because somewhere around that time, the publisher of Entangled had decided that she really wanted to do a vampire book.
Hmm.
And so they knew me, and I have, a track in YA as well as in a romance. And they had asked me, hey, Tracy, would you be interested in writing a vampire book? And I'm like, I have always wanted to write a vampire book. I've just always been a little scared because, I mean, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? You write vampires,
Yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
lot that came before you. And so I was really nervous, but I said, well, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to give it a try. And I came up with the Crave series, and then worked with my editor pretty extensively throughout the series on the world and some other stuff. It's a really good collaboration, I think. And Crave was born.
Yeah, that mercy. Yeah, that part. Um, I guess I'll open it up to the rest of the tribe if they have any questions for you. I'll definitely let them jump in as well while I take a look at some things. Doc, I think I saw your question already. Go ahead and put it up.
So, hi, Tracy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I was wondering, how do you start your writing process when you're working with the new book?
Oh, is that the question, right? I think you talk to 100 writers and you'll get 100 different processes. And I think most of us, I don't know, at least most of my friends and I hate our processes. It's like, oh, I wish I could have her process. It's so bright and shiny and it looks so nice over there. My process is terrible. Um, for me, I have to kind of live with, even with Crave, as I'm working on the fourth book. Like, I have
Hmm.
to live with it, the idea of the plot for a little while. I'm very character driven, right? And so usually at the very beginning, if I'm starting a new series particularly, or a new standalone book, I really have to kind of get to know the characters a little bit. So I tend to write the first 3 to 5 chapters like probably 6 or 7 times. It just, and in that time I'm kind of figuring out who my heroine is, who my hero is, who my side characters are, and like what they want, all the motivations, all those things. And then usually I have to take a break for, a little while. And if I'm lucky, it's only a couple days. If I'm not lucky, it's longer. And it kind of like works in my head. And then I'm like, okay, I go back, and sometimes I have to rewrite those first 5 chapters one more time. And then usually it's pretty smooth sailing on to at least the halfway mark. So for me, I don't do a lot of the my best friend does. She does a lot of the character worksheets. She really gets to know her characters before she writes a word. And I don't do that. I usually get to know them by just rewriting those first 3 to 5 chapters over and over until I'm like, oh, okay, I know who you are. So that's how I start a new book.
Absolutely. Terry, I think I saw your question as well. Go ahead and unmute, let them go ahead and get that question out.
Absolutely. Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Good. Hi, Terry.
Good. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to know, how did you, or what inspired you to create a new world? What
Oh,
inspiration do you use to create a world?
I think a lot of inspiration. I think honestly, I think with the Crave world, fear was a big motivator, because like I said earlier, when you're writing vampires, you're kind of standing on the shoulders of a lot of people who came before you. And I had always told myself that if I was ever going to jump in, because I'd written paranormal before, I wrote mermaids, I've written dragons, I've written witches before, but I said, I'd always deliberately stayed away from vampires. And it was like, if I'm going to do vampires, I have to make sure that I have something new to say. You know, I have to make sure that there's a world and a message, like something that is new that they haven't seen before. And so I'm really, really blessed because my editor is incredible at world building. Character is really where I live. I love character, and I do smaller world building. I'm like, okay, I want this. I want dragons, and I want them to be in Alaska, and I want them to be like this, and I want that. And my editor's like, well, you know, what's the origin story? And I'm like, I don't know what the origin story is. Like, well, I guess we better figure that out, huh? Are you laughing because you have the same discussion?
Yeah, mercy.
So we have the same editor. So
Exactly.
so yeah. So what's the origin story? What, you know, what, and, or, you know, that doesn't make sense. And I love to tease her all the time now. It's a joke between us. She's like, well, how did that happen? I'm like, I don't know, magic. And she's like, no, that's not how, that's not how things
It's
work.
not how this works.
You better figure out how it works, because I'm like, well, what's the point of having magical beings if they can't just be magic? So what inspired me to create a new world, I think, is I always live more in my head anyway than I do in the real world, at least 50% of the time. My kids will tell you all the time, they're like, oh, moms, you know, because I'm driving down the road and I'm like having this full-on conversation, the head moving, everything. And they're like, are you even listening to me? And I'm like, oh, what? I'm sorry, were you talking to me? And they're like, one of these days I'm going to be as important as Jackson or Grace, or and I'm like, you're just as important. It's just like, if, you know, sometimes they talk to me too. So yeah, a little bit of all of that, I guess, is my answer.
Gotcha. Marie, I see you. I see your question popped up. Go ahead and ask for me.
Hey, Tracy, what motivates you to write? Have you ever woken up in the morning and like, I don't feel like write today, but I have to? How do you get motivated?
Apparently fear is my answer for a lot of these questions. I'm a single mom of 3 boys, and at some point it became, well, this is my job, so I either write or my boys don't, you know, eat. So there's that. But like, what motivates me on a day when I don't really want to write? Honestly, what I found through however many novels, you know, is usually when that happens, I mean, if I'm not like just having a day where you just don't want to go to work, which I think everybody has one of those days, but if it's not one of those days, what I usually have figured out is the problem is I'm stuck. Whether I want to admit I'm stuck or not is a different story, but I don't know where to go next, right? Like, I've written myself into a corner, or I've written as far as the story. I know where the story goes, all of those things. So one of the tricks that I've learned through the years, honestly, is to never leave off in that spot. I tend to, like most of us, we get excited and we write until we run out of story, or until the scene we're really excited about is done, or until, you know, whatever. So I try to make sure that when I leave off before the scene I'm really excited to write, or I leave off before whatever the big thing is that's going to happen, that I know is going to happen. I try to never write all the way through that, because if I do that, then I know that when I sit down the next morning, that I still have something to write. And that tends to cure a lot of the not wanting to sit down, right? I mean, because when the book is going well, we're all like, yeah, of course we want to write. When the book is going badly, I mentioned before, I have 3 sons. I'd rather scrub their bathroom than sit down and write my book, right? So yeah, I try to always make sure that I know where I'm going next when I leave off for the day, so that it makes it easier to come back the next day and work through it.
All right, the next question I have comes from Ms. Sosaray. Go ahead and unmute, darling. Let me so you can get your question out.
Hello, Tracy.
Hi.
What are common traps for aspiring writers?
Common traps for aspiring writers? Okay. I'm going to do this as like, what advice do I have for aspiring writers? Because I think it's actually the same. Okay. And I think it's that we as writers tend to want everything immediately, you know? And I think that early on in my career, I did, right? Like, if I could just get a publishing house to buy my book, if I could just get my first book on the shelves, if I could just hit the New York Times list, if I could just, you know, then everything would go smoothly. And the fact of the matter is, that's not true. Writing, like I think with any of the arts, is one of those careers that does this, you know? And I think that if you go into it and you really want to make a career of it, not, you know, oh, I want to write one book, but I really want this to be my career and I want to write books for the rest of my life or the rest of my, you know, working years. I think you really have to look at it as a marathon and not a sprint. When I came on, I tended to, like I said, think of it as a sprint. But I've been here, you know, 16 years now, and I'm learning to take the long view. And if you had told me 16 years ago that I'd have a series like Crave, I might have believed you. If you told me 12 years ago, I never would have believed you, because I was like in one of those, you know, downward, you know. And I think that if you don't let yourself live and die by the roller coaster, you're going to be a lot better off. Because even when things are going really well for you, I think, and this isn't a downer, this is just the nature of the business. I think you have to understand that there's going to be times where they're not going as well for you because your publishing house closes, or what you write isn't what the market is buying right now, or whatever else. And you just have to, you have to understand that. You have to not let it discourage you, because you have stories to tell, and your stories and what you want to say are important. And some days you'll be popular, and some days you won't. That's the nature of the beast, right? And that's okay. Because in the long run, I think it all kind of comes out the way that it's supposed to. And I think you just have to look, you know, have that long vision, and not live and die by every, oh, I got a rejection for my manuscript, or, oh, these people didn't like my, you know, book, or it got a bad review, or whatever else. I think you just have to say, look, I'm doing the best I can. I'm in this for the long haul, and it's all going to come out the way that it's supposed to in the end. And I think that will save your sanity. I always laugh, right? Because I think that editors forget, because
Man, listen.
they forget that writers, because most of us hide our neuroses pretty well, I think, particularly in like YA and romance and that group. I think they forget that we are a little neurotic, and that the industry is designed to make us a little more neurotic, right? Because you're waiting to hear from your editor, and you're waiting to know if they're, you know, and all of these things. And they're like, oh yeah, it was fine, I just forgot, I got busy with something else. And you're like, seriously, you forgot? I've been dying waiting for you. And again, just take the long view, and just do the best that you can every day. And I think it'll all turn out okay in the end. That's at least that's what I tell myself.
Thank
That's how I
part.
keep writing.
I think the next question comes from Sierra. Go ahead, madam.
Yes. Do you have a favorite quote or a line from a book that kind of sticks with you?
I do actually, and I'm not going to get it exactly right because I always mess it up. Ernest Hemingway wrote a line about the fact that, I'm trying to get it right. It's, life breaks everybody, but some people are strong in the broken places. And I think that's such a beautiful quote, right? Because I think that, well, I think that a lot of writers have been broken one way or another. I mean, it's kind of how we connect with readers, right? Through our pain and that kind of a thing. And a friend of mine and I joke about, like, when her husband goes to work, he's a computer programmer. He doesn't have to open a vein and bleed onto the page. When we go to work, if we have one of those scenes, we do, and we have to like relive whatever bad emotion it is, or whatever it is that caused us to feel that, so that we can be genuine with our characters, so that our readers, you know, can feel what we need them to feel. And yeah, I just think the idea, and I keep that in mind for myself, and I keep it in mind for my characters as well, and certainly like Grace in the Crave series, that it's out of that brokenness sometimes that the strongest things are forged.
Definitely. All right. I think the next question I have actually comes from one of the audience members. They said, well, no, let me back that up. Kadisha, I see yours. I see your question. Go ahead and pop up.
Okay. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
So it's been beautiful last night and this morning to hear that authors are now taking a better part in making their books movies, like production houses, being on the writing team and stuff. Do you see the Crave series or any of your other books coming to movies, whether the big screen or maybe even Netflix or small screen?
Well, I am so excited and lucky that Universal optioned Crave. And so we've got a producer and a bunch of other things going on with it. Early in my career, again, like I said, Longview, I was sitting at a panel at, I can't remember what conference it was, but it was a bunch of big authors up there, and they'd all had their experiences with Hollywood. And one of their editors had said, I don't count on the movie until I'm on the red carpet. And I just kind of remember that. And so I am super excited, and I love the people that I've met at Universal, and we're thrilled that the Crave is in their hands, because I think they will do an amazing job. So I am cautiously optimistic that there'll be a Crave movie. But
That is great.
we'll
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, the question that I see from the audience, well, one of the questions is, for those who are unfamiliar with your catalog, which book would you recommend that they start with?
Okay. Well, I write a lot of different things. The joke was I wrote everything in romance except historical. So it kind of depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for YA, young adult, I definitely suggest starting with the Crave series, because I'm very excited about it, and I love it, and I'm still in the middle of writing it. If you're looking for erotica, I would say my favorite book that I've ever written in the erotic genre is a book called Love Game. And speaking of broken places, I wrote it kind of as my life was falling apart, and I think it's very raw and very real, and I love it very much. And otherwise, if you're looking for just a contemporary romance, Shaken Dirty or Ethan Frost are usually two of my big sellers. They're my other New York Times USA Today series.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Let's
asking.
see. Oh yeah, that's fun. Erica, go ahead with your question.
Thanks, Shakir. Hi, Tracy. I have a question that really, I think, gets to the process versus the outcome of your books. So I'm wondering, what is your thing, in quotes, that you have to press through or overcome in your writing? So you've been amazing, right? But do you ever find yourself in those hiccup places? And if you do, what do you do to get over that hump?
Well, lately, exhaustion is the thing I've had to push through, because in a perfect world, a book is 100,000 words long. And so I usually allot a certain amount of time with, breaks for that. Well, like the Crave series has come in at like 300,000 words, the last book, and the one before that was like 265 or something. And that meant that I was like on a massive crunch. And so it was really exhaustion I was pushing through to get it done. But otherwise, what do I have to push through? I think Nora Roberts is famous for saying, and I know she's not the only one, for saying that you can fix any page, but you can't fix a blank page. And I am terrible. If I am writing and I think that I am writing crap, I will just stop writing. I will nope, I'm not going to do it today. Just not going to do it. And the problem with that is you get behind, you know what I mean? You get to the point where, if you have a few bad writing days and you're on, a writing schedule, then you've got a problem. So this is a problem I've struggled with for years, and it's a problem I still struggle with, where just giving myself permission to maybe not write. None of us write great stuff every day, right? I mean, that's why we have editors, and that's why we edit our own work. But giving myself permission to do that, to just say, okay, obviously it's you're not feeling the scene right now, but let's see what we can get down, and just kind of go with it for a while. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
That's what I have to push through.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
All right, Doc, let me get your question out.
Okay, I was wondering, since you have a background as an English teacher and a professor, does that provide an advantage or disadvantage when you're trying to write creatively, when you're trying to think outside of the box? Because sometimes those arenas keep you in a box.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good question. I think that they gave me some advantages because I did a lot of studying of creative writing while I was going through school and taking classes in creative writing. And I definitely think that gave me an advantage when I sat down to actually write my first book, because I really understood, well, then also I'm a voracious reader, right? I think like most of us. So I really understood structure and how to build a plot and how to build all of that. And I think that gave me an advantage. At the same time, yeah, I think you have to turn out off your English professor lit crit, because otherwise, yeah, you're like, well, you're not you're not Shakespeare today or probably ever, and that's okay. So yeah, I think it can be a voice in the back of my head telling me, oh yeah, no, that's not good enough, so you just have to ignore it.
Cool. The next question I have is from Lucille Freeman. She is saying, could you talk about lipstick, chocolate, and writing 12 to 16 hours per day? Do you still write more than 8 hours per day habitually?
When I am writing a book, as I'm starting a book, no, I do not write more than 8 hours habitually. Once I get past the 3 to 5 chapters and I start flying, yeah, some days I'm writing 18 and 20 hours a day. And that can be exhausting, but it's also, we talked at the beginning, right, about process and how we always want somebody else's process. And my process is terrible. And I usually end up like in desperate need of a massage and a week of sleep whenever I finish a book. But I kind of get myself immersed in it and I write really fast and then go back and edit, obviously. But I tend to not edit myself while I'm writing. Unless it's one of those really bad writing days where I'm like, oh, this bites. But usually once I catch the rhythm, I just kind of push through it. And then that means that I'm writing 10 or 12, 13,000 words a day. They're not all good. Some have to be cut, some have to be rewritten, but I'm generally writing that on a really solid writing day. So yeah, I am still doing that. As for chocolate, yes, everybody in my house knows that during the writing of a book, they have to keep me in chocolate or I'm not worth living with.
Fair enough.
Yeah, lipstick's just my thing. I mean, it's really sad about masks, right? I have all these lipsticks and I don't get to wear them ever, so.
Well, hopefully we won't get to that. We'll get to the point where we're kind of get away from that, but that's still some time off. So we'll have to work through that as we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Linda asked if you have ever written in any other genre. She kind of popped in late, so I don't think she got a chance to really find out the full breadth of the catalog as far as that was. And then she also asked if you do write in other genres, was it easy in making the transition through the genres that you started into?
Well, I think that for me, it's easy because I write romance. I've written action adventure YA, like technological Armageddon books. I've written a couple of those, but there was still a romance that worked hand in hand with the big adventure plot. I've written romantic suspense, but still there was a romance. So I think for me, the through thread has always been romance. So it doesn't matter, again, and I'm character driven. So it doesn't matter for me as long as I have a romance and characters that I can work with, then whatever world, whether it's paranormal or contemporary or erotic or a romantic suspense or anything, it doesn't matter to me because I'm still dealing with characters and falling in love. And for me, everything else is exciting and wonderful and you change it up and it's exciting to do different things, but everything else kind of rotates around that.
Okay, gotcha. Joy, I know your question just popped up on me just a few minutes ago. Go ahead and unmute so you can get that question. Joy, we can't hear you. There we go.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. So Tracy, you had said earlier that in your discussion with your editor, the origin of certain things and the magic response. But how much of a plotter or a pantser are you, given the word count, the large word count that your Crave series? You know,
I will say, I always say, somebody had said this word, I heard it for the first time several years ago, and I'm like, that's the word I like. Plotster, right? Like, I know the arc. I know Grace is here, and I know by the end of this book, I want her here. By the end of the series, I want her here. Right? I know, okay, Jackson and Hudson, same thing. I know the big things that I need to have happen in every book. I know the big things I need to have happen in the series for me to get my characters where I need them to be and to get my story where I need it to be. How I'm going to get there is sometimes very clear to me, and sometimes I have to muddle through a little bit and just see how it goes. And I think I learned very early on with my first YA series, which was the Tempest Rising series. It's a mermaid series. Because I had a very clear idea of what I wanted. And that was one of those days I sat down and I'd been so excited to write this scene. Like, I'm like, this is the scene I've been building to for the entire book. I'm so excited and I know how it's going to go. And I sit down and I wrote it. And then I killed a character that I had planned on having a major arc all the way through the third book. And this was the first book. And I was like, oh, what did I do? Like, you look like, oh my God, did anybody see me do that? And so then I like literally got up and I like did some laundry, went for a walk around the block, made dinner, tried to figure out like what I was going to do about the fact that I just killed like one of the major characters in the series. And then by the time I sat down to work the next morning, yeah, she was dead and she needed to be dead. And that was a big shock, but that changed the trajectory of the series. So what I say is I like to plot, but I like to keep myself open to surprises, because sometimes something happens and it happens for a reason, even though, because my subconscious has been working on it for a while and my conscious brain hadn't caught up. Or sometimes I'm going one way and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's not a great way. This is a better way to go. So I plot, but I like to keep myself open to surprises.
Absolutely. That being said, I guess it's really about everything that we can really burn out of you at this particular point, Tracy. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can get in contact, anything that you've got coming down the pipeline after the Crave series is done. I know we've talked amongst ourselves with regard to what we got to deal with, but yeah, absolutely.
I have the fourth book of the Crave series that I'm working on right now. It's called Court, and it will be out in, I believe it's the end of September. And I'm excited about that. We do have an announcement coming up, I think in the next week or so, about what's going to happen after the Crave series. So I'm not allowed to say what it is yet, but we're pretty excited about it.
I know that. I know about that. We can't say nothing.
Yes, I know, right? Same editor.
Wait, but we're still excited for you anyway. We're let's clap it up, people. Let's clap it up.
It's all good out. Trust me, we get it, but I hate when she says that. No,
oh yeah, she's amazing and wonderful, and we're so lucky to work with her. But yes, she keeps us under lock and key.
Yeah, and for those that are not aware of what we're talking about and who we are talking about the co-founder of Entangled Publishing, Miss Elizabeth Pelletier. She is quite literally, I think the joke between Tracy and me is that she's both drill sergeant and fairy godmother all wrapped up into one. So yeah, it's one of those, yeah, we get it, but at the same time, it's, don't want to wring your neck, but at the same time, my God, come on. So Tracy, definitely thank you. Speaking of the devil.
Speaking of her, that's Liz.
Yep, that's Liz. So we'll be seeing her tomorrow during some special segments as well. So anybody that get a chance to get in to speak with her on that, we'll explain that later on as far as that is.
And she's brilliant. So if you get the chance to go, you should totally go, because she. Yeah. I don't know if she's taught you anything, but she's taught me several things in the time that I have worked with her.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, that part.
Either way. But again, thank you for taking the time out with us. We do appreciate it. If you want to stick around with us here, definitely
wait. We cannot let her get away. We cannot.
Oh, damn, that's right. I almost forgot.
I know, we can't let her go.
Before we let you go.
Hold on, let's see. Let's get a good one for Tracy. Hold on.
Yeah, before we let you go, there's a game that we always play here at Cavalcade called One Gotta Go. So in this particular instance, there'll be four different images, subjects, whatever the case may be. Of those four, you got to figure out for you which one of those four needs to go.
So I'm going to share the screen right now. Let's see which one she pulls on this one. We're going to do two. And then.
About that.
Oh.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and Station 19.
Well,
Which
Scandal
one
and How
gotta
to Get
go?
Away with Murder cannot go ever, like ever. Oh my gosh, ride or die. I'll go with Station 19. I'll go with Station 19. I've actually never seen it, so I'll go with that one.
That was an easy pick. That was too
That was an easy pick. The other three I love. I've never seen Station 19.
Okay. I like it. It's really interesting.
Is it? Well, I'll have to try it then.
You will. You will. So a quick roll of everybody else, Sierra K.
Station 19, haven't seen it.
I can't hear you.
Station 19, I haven't seen it.
Oh, Station 19 is getting a bad rap around this camp. Erica, Erica.
Yeah, so
never
all
get
of them are
Shonda.
great. Station 19 is really a good series. But all of the other ones, though, they have had their roots dug in. So I have to let go Station 19. But it is a really good series. You have got to try it.
How are you gonna say you love it, then kick it to the curb? That's just
Because all the other ones are just, they are amazing. And they are like fun.
All right, Shakir, which one?
Man, listen, I tried to stick in on one of those as far as that was, and I'll probably be the black sheep on this one, but Grey's Anatomy has got to go for me.
You're gonna get disowned. Okay.
Look, I hung in for the first 5 seasons and let them go because they were getting a little too ridiculous for me.
I hear you. I hear you. Dr. V?
Station 19.
Marie?
Grey's Anatomy. As a nurse, I don't like fake medical shows.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Okay, Kadisha?
I haven't seen any of them. I'm a movie person, not a TV show. So
Scandal. Oh my God, Scandal. And How to Get Away with Murder.
Radisha.
I know. I love movies. I'm not a TV show.
Okay, Terry.
I don't want my card revoked, but I'm going to have to say How to Get Away with Murder. That thing was too much for me. I'm sorry. It was too much. It was too much.
Look, I can't
Too much.
it. I really can't.
Too much.
So Saray?
Station 19.
She's in
Look.
Holland. It's her bedtime in Holland. Take your ass to bed.
How you just gonna do that? That's just
I
wrong.
know. Okay, one more, Tracy.
Oh Lord.
Oh, Yosemite Sam. He always bugs me. Oh, he bugs me.
I know, right? Erica?
I'd say I have to get rid of, I don't know, Tasmanian. He just never made a whole lot of sense to me.
He wasn't supposed to. He's a
he just kind of goes around wrecking stuff. Like, so he has to go for me.
Okay. Terry? We can't hear you.
I will say, is that your Yosemite Sam down there?
That's Sam.
I'm going to say him.
Oh man, Shakir.
Sam got to go for me.
He's getting a bad rap. That's just wrong. Sierra?
Hey, it is what it is.
Yosemite Sam.
It is what it is.
With everybody else.
JL Campbell?
The devil has got to go.
Who?
The devil has got to go.
Marie?
I'm with Erica. That wrecking ball has to go.
Okay. Did we get everybody, Kadisha?
Yeah, I think
Taz
that's
has got to
everybody.
go as well.
Oh man.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
anyway,
my
I'm gonna
God.
turn it back over to Shakir.
That is funny. Either way, Tracy, thank you again for hanging out with us. Like I said, you're more than welcome to hang and stay here, or we can put you in the audience however you decide you want to see fit. but we can definitely keep you on. That's not a problem.
Definitely put me in the audience. I'd love to. I'd love to
We're
watch.
just gonna stop your video. You'll be a panelist and you'll be on the side, but you'll get to see everything.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time. You guys are
Not a
amazing. And
problem.
definitely count me in for October.
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you for
Absolutely.
coming. We really appreciate you. Really appreciate
All right. Next up, now that we've got that off and
It's
running,
you and Shakir. We're gonna put you on the hot seat.
I wasn't ready for the hot seat.
I'm just you ready for the hot seat.
We're ready.
Fine, whatever. I was trying to go in a whole other different direction.
Nope, it's your turn. We
fine.
need to hear. Number one, congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to
Shakir.
Shakir.
Congratulations.
We are so proud of you and happy for you.
Yes, 3-book deal with Entangled for a series. I'm going to slide it over to him, and then the tribe members and everyone will run hot point for questions from the readers. Coming to the stage, Shakir Rashaan. Yeah, so I'm turning it over to you, Shakir. You tell us how it happened, how you're feeling, you know, the why, what, when, how, where. It's on you.
Man, listen, it's been silliness. The whole process from way back in December up to this point has been roller coaster and then some. And I know Tracy can attest to it. When it's one of those you want it then it's like, okay, now we gotta wait a week or 2 or 3 or whatever, and then all of a sudden she comes in out of the blue like a freaking tornado and go, okay, so can you get me this in the next couple of days? And I'm like, come on now, you're killing me. So from that step, it's been push and pull, it's been, you know, ebb and flow. It was, and the whole process has been just gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Liz has been A1 from start to current point at this point in time. Even with regard to just going through trying to conceive the process and try to conceive what the series is gonna go through and that type of thing. It's been wild. That's all I can say at this point. But with regard to how the series is going right now, I know when we went industry wide with the announcement, the name of the series was one thing, but we're kind of currently resituating and reshaping what the series titles will be, as well as the series installment titles will be at this point. So it's like, good gracious. But the original title of the series was supposed to be The Keepers of the Kutukufa Scrolls. And what that was supposed to be was basically a fictional West African country where I had my teenage boy, as a matter of fact, having to protect a set of scrolls that were basically supposed to handle immortality. We do still have that element inside of the series as far as that is, but that's not the central focus anymore. We've actually gone in a different direction to a degree. What my editor and I went through when we started to kind of reconceptualize everything was the concept of my teenager having to deal with something similar to the Incredible Hulk. The whole Bruce Banner Incredible Hulk angle, but from a teenage boy's perspective. So that concept absolutely was in my wheelhouse, because anybody that knows me knows I am deep in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in one way, form, or fashion. There ain't a damn thing you can't tell me that I can't tell you with regard to everything from the Hulk to Cap to Black Panther. Everybody knows I'm a native Wakandan. Forget what you're talking about. But so this really worked itself out at that point, and it's an exciting situation. Not just a 3-book deal, but everything else is coming down the pipeline as well that I can try and talk about, but I can't really talk about.
There is a question from Donna. Tell us about the series. Did you pitch it to them or did they come to you?
When we went through the concept of figuring out what we were going to do, it was kind of a collaborative effort. Liz and I were talking about how we needed to kind of come up with something as fresh as humanly possible. So the first pitch session actually ran about 2.5 hours long. So it was literally just bouncing back and forth, just different ideas to figure out what needed to be done, whether or not we wanted to create a whole other world, or did we want to set it inside of inside of the current society and all that other good stuff. So at the end of the day, we ended up splitting hairs. So we kind of created the world, but then we created the world inside of the real world, so to speak. Where the series is actually taking place is actually a fictional city by the name of Oakwood Grove, Georgia, which is right outside of Savannah. Anybody that's been inside of the paranormal world in any form, whether it's young adult or adult, knows that outside of New Orleans, Savannah is mystical, magical, just otherworldly when it comes to their lore, when it comes to the legends and myths and all that other good stuff and whatnot. And since I'm from Atlanta, it was an easy fit for me. So that's where everything kind of started at that particular point.
Dr. V, it looks like your question is up next. You want to pitch it to Shakir?
Yes. Can you walk us through getting your 3-book deal?
The way it originally came up at that point was when we went through the pitch. The idea was she wanted to get an idea of what I wanted to do, and originally, like I said, everything that I wanted to do with regard to any kind of YA fantasy or paranormal or anything like that, I definitely wanted as much of a mystical and magical situation as I could probably come with, but I didn't want to get into witches and warlocks. That's not my thing. My thing has always been, believe it or not, lichens, werewolves. So when we were coming through the whole idea and understandings of what the transformation process was and how that was going to look and that type of thing, that's when the whole Incredible Hulk angle kind of came into play as well, because that's no different. There's so many parallels to lycanthropes and dealing with what you were dealing with the Incredible Hulk and everything along those lines. So it was an easy fit at that point. From there, she wanted me to write out the way the series was going to go. So I literally I had to come up with what eventually turned into a whole 30-page story arc of what was going to happen from start to finish, from book 1 to book 3, and it just clicked. That's all I can say. I turned it into her. She eventually accepted the proposal, and there we go. It started from there. So yeah, definitely a trip. Once from there, we went through the whole contract negotiations and got everything in pen, got everything signed off in mid-February. We didn't even, like I said, we had to hold it on. We had to hold it under wraps for a whole month before we even, said anything last month.
I'm just bursting with pride for you and just happiness, because it's been a long time coming, in the sense that you and I both have been in this industry for a very long time. And then to hear that Tracy had been in and had written so many novels before she got her elevation, so to speak. And just, that's why when you sent that picture, the picture that I put on the graphic earlier, when you sent that picture of Crave and how they had it encircled with her success, the Crave series, and you were just saying, hey, this is my Entangled sister in the pen. And you were just so happy for Tracy. And then I want you to know, as happy as you were for her, we were just as equally as happy for you. We celebrated her success because you brought it to our attention, but we are celebrating your success because you've been through a lot of trials and terror, not trial and error, trials and terror. And you both have, but you've always kept this balance and kept this humbleness about you. And I think that's probably why you're the only, besides my son, the only other male member of the tribe, because it does take that balance of being, accepting things with grace and humility. I love Tracy. She's just as warm, and she had a fierce haircut too. I meant to tell her that when she was online.
Yeah,
that haircut is fierce. Okay, but anyway, but back to you. I'm happy for you. I mean, I could not be happier for you and all the other tribe members who are about to make that slide into Entangled as well. So with that, you will always have tribe support. You always have my support, but tribe, if we talk about ride or die, We're gonna ride until we die. I'm just saying, we got that going for you. So congratulations. I can't say it enough, and you deserve it. And we can't. I know you celebrate each one of us as we are going to walk in right behind you, but you kick that door wide open, my brother. And I will say, you better do the damn thing.
Man, listen, between that, I mean, she literally got, I mean, I think it was I think it was earlier in the week. Yeah, earlier in the week, matter of fact, because for some strange reason, that woman is the gift that keeps on giving sometimes. We originally found out that there was one producer, there was a movie producer that was interested in trying to attach to the series once the actual announcement went out. Liz actually dropped bomb on me during the town hall that we had inside of Entangled and told me that 2 others had picked up as well and were interested in trying to pick up as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to be a done deal, but just the fact that I'm getting interest is a whole other rarefied air that I'm not even sure how to even react to be honest with you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna probably have to call Tracy when we're done with all this and go, okay, so what do I need to look for at this point? And we'll play it out from there. But yeah. That's all I can say right now.
Amazing, Shakir. Amazing. So, Saray, I see your question has hopped up next.
So, do you think someone could be a writer if they don't feel emotion strongly?
I can't say that not necessarily it's a matter of strongly per se. You kind of have to emote whenever you're writing, no matter what it is that you're dealing with. So to sit there and say that you're devoid of it, it's going to be difficult to really put the emotions of your character out on the page if you don't feel something. That's been my thing, and not necessarily that you have to feel it so strongly that it's a visceral reaction, but you still want to feel something in the characters and what they're feeling, what they're maybe thinking, what's going on in that particular situation that you're putting them in. You have to have something to back that up. I haven't run into too many people who can separate their emotion from their writing. It's very difficult. I applaud those that may have the ability to, but I haven't seen too many.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, darling.
Okay, Shakir. Question from our tribe member, Pat George Walker. How did your family take your success?
The most recent part, yeah. My mom and my sister have been ridiculous with it. My wife kind of saw it all coming. She has this thing and has this ability to see things around the corner even further than I have the ability to. This was, for her, as far as she was concerned, this was something she told me 10 years ago. It was just a matter of putting myself on the path to be able to get it to come to fruition. Nothing ever comes close or quick. I know that myself. I mean, there's no such thing as overnight. People see that people on the outside see it and they think that it's overnight success, but those who are in the grind with you, they know that it takes a couple of years of being underground and doing the work, and then finally getting the seed, getting the visibility and that type of thing. So for me, this is from year 2 to now, and she was right.
The wife is always right.
I'm not even going there.
And that's why he's going to be married for a long time.
So Terry has a question for you. What's your favorite genre to write?
Honestly, I've always had fun inside of the paranormal. I have the most fun inside of paranormal. There's so many different things that you can screw around with when it comes to that. But as far as what, no, I'll leave it at that. Paranormal is really my wheelhouse at the end of the day. I can rock romantic suspense with the best of them. So there's nothing, there's nothing I couldn't do in that particular regard. I started off as an erotic author, but at the same time, it's just whatever genre that I've tried to be a part of or I've tried to write in and that type of thing, I usually immerse myself into whoever else has written in the genre, so I can get an idea as to what not to do in terms of mimicking, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I want to make sure that I have my own voice and it doesn't sound like somebody else.
All right, you and Hiram and I both have the same question. How do you find balance with family, writing, and work? How do you balance it all?
It's a very tightly wound schedule. I schedule it almost within an inch of its life. I work, my day job is literally 6 in the morning to about 2 in the afternoon. Then from there, my wife doesn't get off work until about 5:30. So I have at least a 3-hour break in between when I get off work and when she gets off work. So in that time frame, that's my right schedule, as far as that is. So I get whatever I can get done in that 3-hour time frame. And then once we get into the time where she's off work and my daughter's off, my daughter's away at that point in time for whatever she's doing at this point. We're in graduation mode, so it's going to be a whole other thing now. But before she graduated from high school, it was okay. Once we got to that 6 o'clock period, from 6 to 8, give or take, we did what we could, between the three of us, and just making sure that we caught up with everything and everybody and that type of thing. And then from 8 o'clock on, if I had to get some white time done, they would both literally say, "Gone, bye. You got things to do."
Saray, is there a question?
I believe Pat has a question. What's the story behind the story in service to the senator?
Why is it always the service to the senator? The story behind In Service to the Senator, that was actually a NaNoWriMo project, National Novel Writing Month, what I always affectionately call the Gauntlet. For those who are not aware, National Novel Writing Month is 50,000 words in 30 days or less, depending on how you can actually get that to and through. I actually started doing that. I would say 8-9 years ago, as a matter of fact. Yeah, about 8-9 years ago, give or take. And the reason why I started it was because I was struggling with writing consistently, so to speak. So that was technically my kick in the hind part, so to speak, as far as that month was concerned. 2016 was, for all intents and purposes, a real ridiculous day or that particular month, so to speak, for a lot of people with regard to what happened during the election cycle. And the concept and story behind In Service to the Senator was in reaction to that. I was not ready to let President Obama go, so to speak. And I wanted to create an alternate world for not only for myself, it was as an escapism, but it was just something that it played itself out crazy, to say the least. So that's how at the time, Senator Warren got started. He just became a whole thing at that point. By the time we released it in March of 2017, it got so wildly popular that I actually had different CNN correspondents that were hitting me up because they had gotten wind of what was going on with that particular book and was like, okay, so who do you know and how did you know about something? And I'm like, I didn't know nothing about nothing. I'm like, I work inside of one of the departments inside the federal government. And yes, I have some people inside of Homeland Security, but I ain't asked them nothing. That was a complete and utter fabrication that came from my own creativity. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't know nobody that deep into it. it was just a fun story for me to write.
I have a question for you about Marvel.
Mhm.
It has a lot of transformative characters in Marvel. Who do you
Mhm.
think is the most, and I was going to take one out for you because we already know about that one, but who do you think is the most transformative character coming out of the MCU?
Before his arc actually died, it was definitely Tony Stark.
Okay.
For him to have started off as such an anti-hero in the beginning, with his first movie, when his first appearance came in with Iron Man, and he was such a casual and such an I won't say uncaring, so to speak, but he was so cavalier about everything. And for him to go from that and then evolve into what he was before the unfortunate end, yeah, he's probably the most transformative out of all of them. Because the rest of them were pretty well, I won't say stagnant, but you knew who they were.
They were who they were, right?
Yeah, they were who they were. Tony, nah, man. Tony evolved at every step of the way. When you got, by the time you got to the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, he was one thing. By the time we got to Age of Ultron, he was a completely different thing. By the time we got to Endgame and Infinity War, he was a whole other thing. So absolutely, there's yeah, the way RDJ did what he did with that, I'm absolutely impressed.
Okay. And there's another question coming in from Donna. What do you think they should do about Black Panther 2? Who should be the next leader of Wakanda?
Man, I've already signed on to the whole, can we recast T'Challa, please? Because you're not going to give me a one and done. Sorry. Love you, mean it. Sorry. I love what Chadwick did with it. I love what he brought and what he meant. But if I can have 9 renditions of Batman, and I can have 5 renditions of Superman, and I can have 16 renditions of Spider-Man, no, we're not gonna do this. Sorry. So who should be the next leader? T'Challa, until it's time to let him go. Now, again, he has, in the comics, he had to relinquish the mantle, but he was still king of Wakanda, regardless. Shuri did take over as Black Panther, but she was not, the title of king and the title of Black Panther were always separate. They were never one and the same. The only reason why it fell on T'Challa to be both was because his father passed on before everything could be, I guess before the evolution could, the cycle could kind of continue at that point. That's the only thing. Otherwise, we are where we are.
Shakir,
Oh.
are there any now that you kind of have your 3 books set in your head, in your mind, and on paper, what can we look for after that?
At this point in time, I still have 2 other projects that I'm still running concurrently with this particular project. I have My Turn Inside of the Queens of the Castle. That is a follow-up from the Knights and the Kings. Mine is actually is actually the Queen of Kensington. So that's where we are at that particular point. Then there's another project that is urban crime fiction. That is yet to be titled. I haven't had a chance to get a chance to find out what that title is yet, but that is a novella. That's a set of novella series where the concept is the main character unfortunately found themselves they found themselves incarcerated because of someone they were either infatuated with or someone that they were in love with, and we get to actually chronicle what happened from the time that everything started with that particular love interest or whatever, until their unfortunate arrest and conviction and all that other stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that turns out looking like as well, and that'll be that. So absolutely.
Oh, Shakir, have you ever suffered from writer's block? And if yes, what do you do then?
Hold on a
This is
second.
the last question, by the way, before we slide
Yeah,
over to our
absolutely.
next guest.
Yeah, absolutely. No, repeat the question. My apologies.
Have you ever experienced writer's block? And if yes, what did you do?
Honestly, me personally, I've never experienced the writer's block per se. I have had life events that have prevented me and precluded me from writing because life things of that nature had to take precedence? Absolutely, I have. But whenever so I guess in a sense, it's a version of writer's block, perhaps. However, it's just a simple matter of if you're not in the right state of mind, you're not going to get any right time done. You have to be as clear as possible. So case in point, I literally didn't write a single word in 2017 and 2018. But I had enough in my canned files that I could still release things if I needed to at that point, which is exactly what I did. And the reason why I couldn't write in those 2 years was because I was going through a battle with my wife with regard to health issues that she needed my undivided attention. And that was pretty much what that was. So there was no way in hell I was going to do any writing whatsoever until she was back on her feet. So in that instance, technically that's where we're at. But as far as personally experiencing what they would term writer's block, no, I've never done it. Never gone through it.
Okay, so I think Sosa Ray was being extremely mean when she did this. And then after first tell us where we can find you and connect with you, Shakir.
Absolutely. You can find me on pretty much find me at home. I'm at ShakirRashaan.com. All of my social media links are on my homepage. Everywhere that you need to find me as far as that is, I'm on the usual: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. And then that's where you can find me from there, and you can pretty much interact with me at that point. So that's me in a nutshell. I thank you for your time.
Indeed, 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 indeed. All right, so here we go. Shakir, one gotta go. Oh, Sosa Ray did this, and this is mean.
Now, how you going?
I know, right?
How you gonna make me choose from one of my books and say one I gotta go? Did I do something wrong? Man, listen. Oh, nope, nope. Throw the whole thing away. That's not happening.
Okay.
Throw the whole thing away. I can't. Nope.
That was just mean. Okay.
Ooh, mercy. Oh.
Okay. Let's try something else. Okay, so let's share this screen. Let's see. How about this one?
Love it, hip hop. Shit, come on. That was easy.
Okay. Too easy.
I am not a fan of reality television. Period. Full stop.
Too easy. That was too easy.
Okay. That was a full stop.
I don't think none of us like the ratchet shows to begin with. So let's go with something else. We can't go with that one either. Dang.
See?
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay, so let's try this one.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm not a fan of yoga.
Okay. I can see that.
I mean, out of all of these, yeah, no. I mean, I get the benefits of yoga. Definitely helps the other three, but I don't necessarily need it.
Okay. Terry?
I will say running deep.
Okay. Erica?
I'd say C.
Marie?
C.
Sierra?
Okay.
Okay. JL? We can't hear you.
The jogging. There's too much sweat and sun and stuff involved in that.
Kadisha?
C, what is C? Is that
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups. Okay, C gotta go. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. C gotta go. C has got to go.
All right then.
Did I get Sosa Ray?
C.
C?
Yep, she's at C.
Okay, did I get everybody? Okay, so we're gonna run point and bring up our next guest. Thank you so much for being here with us, Shakir. And I'm gonna turn it over to you so you can run point for our next guest that is coming in, also in Entangled Publishing.
Absolutely.
Author as well. And Lisa.
And there she
Rayne.
is.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Lisa. You gotta.
Hey.
How you, madam?
Shakir.
I'm good. How's everybody?
Wonderful.
No worries whatsoever. This woman here, I actually found, oh my God, I want to say